Hi, yeah, it's Xavier, and today we're going to be joined by Jason and Candice of the Bonsai Garden and Candice of Bonsai Science. Unbelievable, all the way from the States, nearly here in person, but the next best thing. You know how I like to run these collaborations, so please rest assured, nobody's feelings were hurt during the filming of this, and yes, my little ceramic man does get a few comments in there, but it was a great time had by all.
Hi, it's Xavier. We're in the patio end of the garden. The sun's shining down, but I'm not sure whether it will be when we do the next bit of filming. And Jason's going to arrive in about half an hour, and we're going to tackle that monster 4-foot juniper. And if you're really lucky, some words of advice from Candice. But you know, before we tackle this monster, I've had so much advice from everyone last year. I think it's important that you perhaps refresh your memory. So if you haven't seen anything to do with this monster juniper, there's a link coming up. Without much ado, I'll give you a spin of my my creeping juniper monster, and I think that's juvenile growth, isn't it, when it's all spiky like that. So there's lots of growth, so it's doing well, but I'll need to weed it out as well. But I'll try and spin. I know it's difficult because the backdrop's going to be atrocious for this. You've got this main 2 or 3 trunks or branches that are going out from the base. They each go out 2.5, maybe 3 foot. There's different ways of looking at it. So instead we'll look at my lovely legs and spin it round. Do you know, all the best bonsai creators all like their pencils and their colouring in sets. So I asked my granddaughter Zita, could I borrow her colouring in pencils? And of course she was delighted. Now I bet you didn't know I could draw. I've got quite a few talents that you don't know about. And it's all about impressions often when you draw things. Shading, subtle movement. Maybe I just might need a bit of shade. I know. What we haven't got is a sense of scale. I think I need Jason. So we'll just wait for Jason to arrive, shall we? And then I'll finish his drawing up. It's Jason and of the Bonsai Garden. And he's brought the clouds and gloom with him.
Well, it'll save you having to water your trees.
Jason, great that you've come here. Obviously we've got this horrible 4-foot juniper to look at that you love so much. But first of all, I've been sketching it and I need you for a bit of scale. Do you think you could sit beside it for me while I finish my sketch off?
Okay.
That's all right. Just stand there. Yep. Perfect. I think I've nailed it. What do you think, Jason? That encapsulates the true form of this bonsai, and it's definitely a good likeness of you.
This is ambitious. I love the stick man.
That's you.
I'm not sure you got the proportions right.
Candice, do you have a view about this?
Well, Xavier, I think you're going to need to add a little color to that sketch if you're going to want that tree to pop.
You're totally right, Candice, and I've actually sent Jason away, and you can tell because the sun is shining. So I've done the extra shading, and I think it's looking pretty good now. In fact, I think it's so good, I think it's time to reveal it to everyone else. This is how my new 4-foot monster is going to look. So what do you think? Is it achievable?
Come on, who's this an impression of?
If you can't say something nice, then...
Seriously though, I can't draw for toffee. Can't do bonsai much better either. But I did get some inspiration, and I want to thank Yelly for that. who, although he's extremely busy, sent me a couple of pictures, and it did actually just give me a little bit of inspiration for what I could do with maybe one of the branches. So have a look at the pictures that are coming up now. So I finished yapping about it. Jason?
So I always say that junipers aren't all made equal, and one of the reasons is, if you look at the foliage on this, it's quite long and stringy and is less suited to bonsai.
I don't know what foliage he's looking at. Mine's dead.
Whereas something like this, a Chinese juniper, it has really tight foliage, and therefore it's easier to make a good bonsai from that. So really, to get a good bonsai tree, you need to have good material to start with, and I would be questioning whether this is in that category.
Candice? What do you reckon?
You asked me to help you styling your monster 4-foot juniper, and I was excited to see a monster 4-foot juniper. And this was anticlimactic now that I see what we're working with. Does this tree look better now this year than it did last year?
Look better. All I can say is that 2 or 3 years ago, took a load of growth off it, wire went on it last year, and it certainly didn't look worse. I mean, looking at the foliage, no, we've actually had probably 10-15% of new shoots on it. So I don't think it's actually deteriorated. It certainly hasn't got worse than last year. I had a look at the video. But no, I don't suppose it's flourished. So you're right, there's definitely something going on. Oh, and I must say, you've seen this sunlight again. Yeah, sent Jason inside to get us a cup of coffee. As soon as he leaves, the Yorkshire clouds go away and the Grantham sun comes out to stay. You might find that's a pattern throughout this film.
It's sad to say, I thought I got myself a real bargain. I think Jason makes some really good, strong points. You know, we go to these nurseries, and it's funny, isn't it? I'm at my knees to him, because obviously he's a much better creator than me. But we go to these nurseries, and we get so eyes wide open. We think, oh, this great big tree, I know exactly what I can do with it. And the reality is, as Jason quite rightly points out, sometimes you've got to know what it is, the characteristics of the certain tree, and whatever. This juniper, I think it's a Virginia. It's actually quite a good species. And if I've got the name right, it's flashing up right now. But when I first got it, I took a load of foliage off it straight away. So it's actually quite ill, and I think Yelly has made a very strong point about the fact that it's ill. And when we look at a lot of the comments from the video I did last year, lots of people said, gee, that looks a bit ill.
Right now it looks so weak. I'm questioning, is this a tree healthy enough that we can actually do any styling with? Or do we need to backtrack and put this tree into rehab mode for the next 1 to 2 seasons?
Yeah, putting it on hold. I've been doing that for the last, well, as you know, 4 years. I think I bought this 5 years ago. I've got a funny feeling it's been the soil since it came over from Virginia in the US. So, well, mind you, where else would Virginia be? But no, we need to move forward. And I suppose the only question I'd ask is, knowing you have to do it, what's the priority? Which way should we go with this first? I mean, anyone who's got a Garden Centre Juniper that's been in there for a while and they're concerned they're not getting the growth, which way would you go?
I think what we need to do is we need to pull this tree out of the bucket and examine the roots and see if we have any issues that we need to treat underneath the soil. Because if we're having issues above the soil with such weak growth and a weak canopy, it's going to be something that's going on underneath that soil line. My guess is this tree's not getting enough oxygen to its rooting system.
So we need to look really at the tree and ask why in particular is it a problem tree? And I think one of the things is it's quite a large tree, and we've got quite long, thick branches, but it's quite sparse in terms of the branching, and all the foliage is on the very tips of those branches. And so it's a little bit problematic because it's never going to be a small, compact tree. And if your design takes that into account, then that's fine. but I wonder if perhaps it needs somehow reducing down, and you need to chase the foliage back and get more ramification on it further down. But that to me is a multi-year project.
Just hearing what you're saying, that actually, that's it's sad news, but it's a really good point. And I think it's something that, looking at junipers in particular, when they're not in their top health, you have to recognise that the roots need to get that nutrition, they need to have that energy so they can feed a new foliage growth. And as Jason is saying, you know, it needs something lower down, and the only way it's going to get that if there's a lot of health and vigour in the system. So you reckon we need to pull it out? It's sad. I wanted it to be something special and do it straight away, and I think that's the frustration I face a lot of time with trees, is you want results and you see other people's stuff.
It's that classic cliche with bonsai, isn't it, that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yeah, but I'm 56 years old now. I haven't got many more marathons left in me. Well, I've got quite a few in here, but I haven't got any more running marathons left, I don't think. So, what I will say is you brought up a really good point. I could either chase the foliage back, I think is the word used, or look at another style. And Yelly sent me some photos which have already come up, and he showed how he used one main branch and then made a literati style out of it. So what I want to do is let's dig it out of that soil, let's find out if we've got any roots, and then decide from there. But we do need to get the wire off.
Yeah.
So I might need a bit of help with that. And I'm not...
That's my favourite job, taking the wire.
Yeah, you've got to do it very carefully though. You're not allowed to cut it.
Oh,
No, so we'll get the wire off that and see how we get on. Now, clearly the black plastic is, if Jason annoys me just too much and knows far too much about junipers, it's a way to get rid of him, roll him up and down to the tip.
But let's chat while they get to work. So at this point, what I would be doing is taking the tree out of the bucket and checking those roots. If the roots are okay and I don't sense any problems with the roots, I would go in and repot this tree then, and then come back and figure out and think about styling. And if this was my tree, if we're gonna move ahead and just talk about styling, I'd also choose to just really compact this tree instead of trying to chase the growth back. Because there's no taper in those big, long, weak branches. I pick where our densest foliage mass occurs, closest to that tree, low, right where it's kind of coming out of the soil there. And then I would look at those other pieces that we know we're not going to use as far as contributing as a live branch or foliage. And I would gin those at this time and then wire them into place if we want to add those into the composition that we create with that foliage that's compact and closer to the tree. And then remove any of those branches that we're not going to need for that.
I'm someone who always prefers to cut off the coils of wire rather than wind. I always fear that I'm going to break a branch, and experience has taught me that wire is less costly than having to regrow a branch for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a cutter. But for a length of this big thick stuff, you don't need, I'm happy that stuff you can cut. It's only this big stuff I'm winding off. If I can, and if I can't.
Oh, well, it's about time you guys got to work. I'm just getting ready to make my next video.
I've seen that. I recently went and visited Tony of Tony's Bonsai in his garden. But in the run-up to going to visit him, in every video that he did, he talked about how he could do with an extra pair of hands on all his projects. So I'm sure the only reason I was there was to be his beautiful assistant.
Jason, if you're gonna wanna be the beautiful assistant, we're gonna have to level up your game a little and maybe do a few marathons.
Yeah, yes, I can understand that, I must be honest. Right, 15 minutes later, and with a lot of help from Jason and some interesting chat, which hopefully the microphone picked up, but at least the microphone's pointing the right way this time. We had the local motorbike gang going by. We've got the wire off this, and now it's the awkward task of working out, do we just tip it out? If I tip it upside down, or you tip it upside down and I hold.
Well, Xavier's not allowed to lift heavy things at the moment, he's done his back in.
I've done my intercostals, and Katerina, number 3 daughter, is been quite ruthless with me. But I'm all right really. Okay, let's just get a feel for this.
hold back, Xavier. I don't think you need to be log rolling Jason anywhere. You're gonna throw your hip out or your back out. Just leave Jason be. Just let him be.
I think the Bobcat Root rake. I wouldn't leave home without one.
Bobcat Root hook. Don't leave home without it. In fact, I have 2.
Oh, that's what makes it work, those spirals.
So you're expecting one tree in here? Or multiple?
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, my advice at this stage is we need to have a ambulance on standby, stationed, probably in your driveway.
Can we have a Tony drum roll? Do you know what? Do you want to take the Bobcat Root rake on your side? I'm going to use the Tony one.
That's the oldest trick in the book. Work's getting tough, gotta go take a call.
Well, we have got some roots in there. I apologise now, the background for this isn't up to my usual high standard. I had some contractual issues with Jason as well. Apparently, I actually have to pay him if I want to have him in high definition. So we might only have him in low definition.
Which I'm sure people will thank you for.
All right, come on, Jason, you can do it. You can do it, put your back into it. I can do it, put my hips into it.
Actually, right, that's the one. I'm waiting to see whether it comes away. But, I will say at this point, while Jason's doing all the hard work, and I've said it before, I got loads of support and comments last year when I talked about what to do with this. And let's see who was right. I do hope it's not Jason, because Jason...
I wasn't very supportive in my comment.
I don't want to break my Tony root rake. I broke your first one, Tony. I thought it was northern. It never occurred to me that it was going to be frail and fragile, honestly.
I'm not sure this is good for my knees. It's going to ruin my football career.
So go on then. Which position do you feel you play best?
Now that explains all the whining. Jason's a football guy.
Are there positions in football?
It's the recline position, the remote control position. Can I have another drink position?
You'll get half an orange at half time.
Oh. Right, okay. If we turn... How are we looking? Well, I mean, there are roots there, aren't there? I mean, there's definitely roots. I'm not sure.
You've got white roots on the bottom, so there's...
Have I? That's weeds. Have I got any useful nematodes in here? That's something I talk about.
Recognisable.
Candice, you got any words of advice at this stage?
I want you to smell the roots. Smell the roots, especially the ones that were down at the bottom of the pot.
Seriously, smell the roots again. Smells good, but the only thing I can smell is the insect that's crawling up my nose. Great tip.
Root rot has a very distinct smell, and healthy roots and a healthy rooting system also has a very distinct smell. And you should be able to sniff out if there's a root issue.
We'll leave the central root ball on this, because what I think I might do is have a little look around here. Okay, I think that is gonna... What do you think? Can we make something from that?
You can definitely make a literati from that.
Right, so that... Okay.
My immediate thoughts on that would possibly be lose one side of that and get yourself a lovely literati, possibly that side.
All right, Well, Jason, you might have bad knees, but at least you have a good eye. That's exactly what I would have done with that bonus tree.
You reckon remove that one?
Yeah, in fact that looks like the Scots pine I bought from Doncaster.
Okay, well I'll let you can do that, that's fine. Out of all that, we've got one tree. This, I reckon, I'm going to be a bit more... People who have never watched my channel before won't realise that I'm not normally brutal with my pruning or anything. I normally go slow, I never ever take things down hard. Alright, Jason.
It shows how much love you have for this tree.
Well, that has got some nice useful roots on it as well. And I think, do you think we can make a tree out of that as well?
Yeah. Looks like you're going to have a lot of literati trees.
Better than littered trees. And this, I think...
Have you done the Tony's Literati Bonsai Challenge yet?
Okay, I think what I'll do with this, that's all pretty solid. That might be the one that Yellie's picture that might suit. He basically has one branch like this and he bends it all the way down and then removes everything else, so it all just literatis down. So I think I'll just remove a little bit of top roots, hack through that, and then we're going to put these in 3 pots. And I think that's about all I'm going to do, because the one thing we learn about junipers, especially ailing junipers, is like pines, you do 1 insult a year on older stuff, and this is definitely older. And I think this has been pretty insulting actually. I'm just going to put it into nice soil and give it a spin, and maybe we'll look at it and decide what to do. Feel free, Candice, if you've got anything you feel you need to say right now, let us know.
Yeah, I have something to say. Slow down, Xavier, slow down. Please, please, don't take this ailing weak tree and leave that compacted potting soil around that root ball and then stick it into another pot with more highly organic material. Please don't do that.
Well, it's me again. And if you want to know why I've now got this, why the sun is beaming down, and why there's something else in a bicycle carrier, you just get to hang around for part 2, which I'm sure is going to be out in another day or 2. Be patient, but there's still some more funny stuff in it. Cheers.